The principles of literary criticism, right? So, the first essential principle of literary criticism is truth. And here I would like to explain this essential principle through three quotes by three renowned literary critics. So, firstly, we have Aristotle, who says poetry has a wider truth and a higher aim than history, for poetry deals with the universal and history with the particular. So, what Aristotle is trying to say over here is firstly, he's comparing literature to history, and he is establishing the superiority of literature to history because he says that literature carries in it certain truths, and of course by saying this he is implying that great literature is only that which has a universal and a timeless appeal, that which transcends uh, confines of culture, language, nationality, and community. So, what he means by this is that if I am a reader sitting in India and I'm reading Homer, or I'm reading Shakespeare, or I'm reading Tagore, or I'm reading Chaucer, it should move me, or it should appeal to me, and I should be able to relate to it. It should be able to inspire certain emotions in me. It should be a realistic reflection of life. It should be an idealized representation of life, and that is in fact the objective, the responsibility, and the characteristic quality of great literature, that it embodies truth. It embodies inviolable truth, which, of course, this is a classical kind of interpretation because Aristotle was a classical critic. Now, let's come to a romantic critic and see what he says. Now, let's look at what Wordsworth says. He says that poetry is the breath and the finer spirit of all knowledge. So, he elevates poetry to a level which is even higher than factual disciplines, scientific disciplines. He elevates it to the level, to the realm of the spiritual, the realm of the transcendental. And he says poetry is actually the distillation of all knowledge. So when you distill all knowledge, when you remove the essence of all knowledge, when you remove the concentration, the concentrate, you have soft drink concentrate. So he's talking of poetry in that context. So he's using that, he's implying the usage of that kind of a metaphor where the very word spirit denotes that, how we get spirit, alcohol, through distillation. So it's the breath and the finer spirit. So the finest of distilled matter is poetry. The finest of distilled knowledge is poetry. So poetry encapsulates universal knowledge, a philosophical insight, a scientific truths, cosmic awareness, all of this. And look at the line of thought. Aristotle is a classical critic, Wordsworth is a romantic poet and critic, but both are saying the same thing, that the objective and the characteristic trait of good literature is that it should reflect the truth. And finally, we have Worsfold over here, who says the matter of books which are in conflict with morality is condemned by this supreme test of truth. So, the objective of good literature is to have a moral end. There should be some kind of an implicit morality, some kind of a poetic justice, some kind of an ethical value, which all good literature should have, and that is the test of good literature. So, truth is the first essential principle of literary criticism.